hurricanes from a historical perspective. How rare is this storm, and what do you make of these models? How accurate are they?
At this point, we have quite a bit of confidence in the next 3.5 days or so in terms of the track. As you saw, we're expecting the hurricane to pass just north of the islands. And then when it gets about to the Florida Peninsula, we're going to see a turn. What we don't know is whether the turn's going to occur right over the peninsula, just to the east, or just to the west. That makes a huge difference. If the hurricane turns and comes over South Florida, as is forecast now, this will be the most significant impact that we've had in Florida, in fact, in the U.S. since Hurricane Andrew. So this would be a once-in-a-generation type of hurricane if it comes ashore at Category 4 to 5.
So that's the middle track, or is that the track on the far west?
Right now, the forecast track is for the hurricane center to come up very close to the east coast. But we're talking about 4 to 5 days from now, and the average error is large enough to cover the entire peninsula here from west to east. So if it comes ashore, we will have the worst of the conditions. If it turns offshore and even passes, say, 50 miles offshore, we'll still have hurricane force winds in South Florida because the size of the storm is large enough to bring hurricane force winds out to that extent.
Do you know, and this may be a dumb question, when we will know which of those options it may be taking with confidence?
We'll probably know in about 24 to 36 hours. At this point, what we know is a little more clearly is that the track will turn near the peninsula. As of yesterday, there was still some possibility that it would make it into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. That's much less likely right now. Now we're focused more on the area from east to the west part of the Florida Peninsula.
And Tom, is it possible for it to go further up the East Coast?
Yeah, I mean, we could look at an ensemble. This is about 21 models that make up the U.S., the GFS model. And we're still wondering, first, if it's going to interact with Cuba, because that could downgrade it somewhat and squeeze out a lot of water, unfortunately, for Cuba. But if it heads in this direction and then further to the north, I mean, we could be looking at a landfall up in the Carolinas if it stays just off the coast as well. And Anderson, this is a lot like Matthew last year. I mean, this devastated a Category 5 in Haiti, taking hundreds of lives, and then plowing into Cuba. But if you recall, when it made its way through the Bahamas and we had kind of an eye wall replacement cycle reorganizing itself near Freeport, it stayed right along the coast. I mean, we had significant damage on A1A, buildings all the way up and down the coast. And don't forget the historic flooding that we had up in the Carolinas, where we lost dozens of people with the flooding in parts of Georgia, South, and North Carolina. So even if it stays off the coast, there's going to be damage. The difference is off coast is catastrophic damage. And if it stays off the coast, it'll be minimal or moderate damage. But if it just slides a little bit, I mean, we're talking catastrophic damage on land for the entire peninsula. The winds, the tropical storm force winds are so wide, it would swallow the entire Florida peninsula as it makes its way northward.
Ed, I mean, just how buildings in a city like Miami, if it was that track that takes it right over land, how strong are they? I mean, are they built to prepare for a Cat 5?
After Hurricane Andrew, Florida upgraded their building codes, and the building codes are the strongest in the nation here. Still, a Category 5 hurricane is going to cause devastating damage. The buildings may well be strong enough for people to survive now, which is good, but there will be tremendous damage if the center and the eye wall just around it come across the land.
Tom Sater, Ed Rappaport will continue to check in with you. Coming up next, what it is like to observe and measure this storm from a whole lot closer than this view from space we're about to show you. You'll hear from a NOAA scientist who has just flown straight into Irma and says it is getting even stronger as we speak.
Fries for 316, please. Thank you.
David, what's going on?
Oh, hey.
That's it?
Yeah. Everybody, 2 seconds. Dear Sebastian, after careful consideration of your application, it is with great pleasure that we